So in years past, this has been an excellent way to run into fellow YouTubers. That really was not the case this year.
The main thing being promoted by VidCon was Monster High on Nickelodeon. That lines up a little bit with the demographic of who was there on both the creator side and the viewership side.
The events at VidCon were sparsely attended. In the past, it was like elbow room only. This year, it was just empty.
If you want to make YouTube videos, you've got to think about doing shorts and doing TikToks. I think that's the reality now. How come I'm out of the two of us, I'm the only one that ages? Have you noticed that? You never seem to admit that it happens to you.
Well, that's because of like the pints and pints of toddler blood that I drink. Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. We are back after our 2-week hiatus. One was planned, one was unplanned. I am Kevin Lieber, and with me, as always, but struggling, is Matthew Tabor.
Struggling. Yeah, this has been a bad one. And as you started talking, I'm like, you know what? Thank God we have an audio podcast, because if people had to look at life today, if they had to see this on the screen, other than the really unfortunate people in the episode chat right now, it would just be embarrassing for everybody. Nobody wants this. This has been like probably the most rundown 10 days I think I've ever had. Is that fair? Where does it rank for you?
You know what? When I got the vaccine, I actually got sicker than when I got COVID. So that was worse for me. But
wow, okay.
For those who haven't been following along on Twitter and so forth, Matt and I went to VidCon, and
sure did.
We came back to COVIDCon because everybody
we had a very
know,
positive experience there.
Everybody that we know, people we don't know, people we tangentially know, all received the gift of COVID by going to VidCon. It was indeed a super spreader event. I think it could classify as such.
I think it was. I don't know the actual stats on the stuff, but here's how it broke down. Okay. Actually, where should we start, Kevin? Should we start with the total unfamiliarity of the whole thing, or should we dive right into theories about who did this to us?
I think we should start with the theories of who did this. Let's start with COVID, and then we'll go backwards to VidCon.
Then we'll walk it back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the big, Create Unknown relevant day was Thursday, for the most part. In the morning, I jumped out to breakfast with Doejens, Vince Vintage, ManyKudos, Billy the Fridge, Ghost Gum, Dontavius. I may be forgetting one or two people there. We really had a great time. It kicked off VidCon as being amazing. And I'm like, it's been 3 years. This is how it should be. I'm so happy with this. And Kevin, you didn't have any engagements on Thursday. So that afternoon, we followed that up with an absolutely epic meal with Andy and Isaac and Michael.
Yeah, I put together a little early birthday dinner for you, and right. Invited, scrangled a couple of TCU hardcores to celebrate your birthday together. We had a lovely dinner with a lot of very, very good steak, and you ate a colossal amount of steak.
So do you know when I ate next? Did I finally tell you when I had a meal again?
So that was Thursday.
This steak was... That was Thursday at about 4:00, wasn't it? 4:00 on Thursday. I did not eat an actual meal until having lunch with Kino Corner in Texas on Tuesday afternoon.
No, that long?
Yes, I did not have an actual meal. I can tell you exactly what I ate. The following night on Friday, I had 2 soft pretzels with you at the hotel bar thing.
Oh, you didn't even finish an appetizer of soft pretzels.
I couldn't. I could not finish soft pretzel appetizer. The next day, I had one slice of pizza when we were talking to Drew Dernill.
That's right.
Sunday, I had 2 cookies and a Diet Coke. And Monday, I had a chicken finger. Monday evening.
One chicken finger?
Monday evening, I had a chicken finger. And then Tuesday afternoon,
was it the middle finger?
Chicken sandwich. It must have been. Yeah, but I'm sure not feeling well played a role in that. However, I truly was not hungry. Legitimately did not feel hungry at any point between that steak and Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, but you need to explain to listeners what the steak was, because we haven't gotten to that point yet. What was the steak that you ate?
Okay. So Kevin mentioned the birthday bit. This was a couple days before I turned 40. And so I see on the menu, there's a 40-ounce porterhouse for 2. So I thought I'd make it a 40-year celebration for 1. Got encrusted blue cheese on it, which was very nice. And then we bet the waiter
against the waiter's warning. By the way,
yeah. The waiter was wrong about this. I asked if it was good to put blue cheese on. He's like, that would probably mess with the steak. I'm like, no. This is definitely going to be good, and it was the right move. And then he went 0 for 2 because then I made the bet with him that if I finished the entire steak, I would get a Bloody Mary on the house, and I won.
He also gave you a dessert on the house, and the plate said "Happy Birthday" on it. So that was very nice. Yeah,
it was really nice. We had a good time with that, and the Minty engagement vibes were going strong. We just had a nice
Andy's graduation vibes. We were all kind of celebrating
Andy's
something.
Graduation. Yeah. Literally everybody at the table, Michael, Isaac, and Andy, all had something except for you. What were you celebrating?
Friendship. Just watching the joy of those around me being celebratory.
And I'm going to put, if I can find this new Discord channel, I'm going to pop a steak picture in it because everybody really does need to see this. But that was Thursday. That's how we kicked off the whole thing. Everybody felt great. Mm-hmm. It was incredible to see podcast people, to see, some of the guests that we've had, just general friends. Thursday was amazing, wasn't it?
It was. And then Friday was fine as well. Saturday, I had a ton of stuff to do. By the end of Saturday, I got to be honest, I was feeling a little run down, but I thought it was just kind of like the travel, and I had a busy day. I had 3 events that day. And then
you had a full day.
The COVID started kicking in by Sunday night. And so it's been, for me, a little over a week. I'm not back to 100%. I would say I'm 85, I think.
I'm 25.
25? I don't think you'd be out of bed if you were 25. That's pretty low.
No, that's fair. I will say 50 then.
Yeah.
I'll do 50. It was, I even have a before and after proof that I ate it. This is going in the episode chat because I can't figure the other one out.
Oh, that's right. If you follow Tabor on Twitter, you should have seen his before and after steak endeavor.
Yeah.
Birthday
It really
steak.
was big. It was big, and it beats the record. I had a 36-ounce tomahawk steak at the South Point not the South Point. I forget the name of it. An off-strip casino in Vegas. And that was the previous best steak. But this one, it's going to be really hard to top. But yeah, Friday was a bit of a down day, and Saturday was packed for you. I talked to a bunch of cool history guys. One who does forensic genealogy. That guy was fascinating. A guy named Mr. Terry, who's a history teacher who out of Utah, I think, who he has a cool channel. That was just really neat. We talked to Drew for a while. It was good, but the event was different, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I should mention a couple of things. Drew will get back on TCU soon. It was great to catch up with him and meet him for the first time in person. We'd only met over the podcast,
right?
Prior to that. So it was really nice to just hang out with him and have lunch with him. And also Cheesy, TCU patron Cheesy, yeah. I also ran into after my first panel, who also was really, really, really nice to meet. And it was great to connect with Cheesy, one of our newest tots, Cheesy. So, yes. So COVID. So we're getting over it. We're back on air.
Yeah.
Slept a lot, continued to kind of sleep a lot, but otherwise, slowly making our way back. So let's get into actual VidCon 2022.
Oh. No, I haven't cast stones yet. I haven't blamed. I haven't floated my theory. Okay. Sorry. Breaking down that day splits it into two pretty even groups, right? We've got the pure Create Unknown group with Isaac, Andy, and Michael, and you and I, isolated, 5 of us. Then we have that group in the morning with Vince Vintage and Ghost Gum and Doejens and Kudos and Dontavius and Billy. Andy, Isaac, Michael, none of them got sick at all.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give it to us. So they're free and clear. Podcast reigns supreme. We've done well. I think it had to be at that breakfast table, which means that I gave it to you. So I feel terrible about that. And, Doejens gave me a ride to the breakfast. And maybe like being in a car, you're sharing some of the same air. Maybe it was that. So initially I suspected her as the patient zero that ruined our lives. And then, I changed my mind. Most of that crew and the people that they were all staying with got sick down the line. So there's more evidence, but I just pictured the scene in my mind and I thought, well, Kudos is Australian. That makes him a foreigner. I'm just going to blame the foreigner. So like ManyKudos now is the patient zero for the Create Unknown COVID attack. I don't think he got sick, but I think he must be one of those rare, like transmissible, asymptomatic people. I'm just going to blame him. I don't think we can do better and like narrow it down. It was his fault. It was ManyKudos' fault.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have to get him back on the show and allow him to defend himself from this patient zero accusation. So,
hasn't he done enough?
I guess so.
Put down your can of Hyper Hydro Monster and your Crimson Berry White Claw. It's time to rethink the beverages in your life. We drink a tremendous amount of tea, working on videos, recording the podcast, but we don't drink normie NPC tea. We drink cultured and refined anime tea from the Dragon's Treasure. They've got a gunpowder green tea called Space Cowboy. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know why Kevin likes it. And I used to chew gunpowder green tea leaves when I played baseball in the 90s. I love the stuff. Dragonwell Z, Samurai Chai Plu, black teas, herbals. The Dragon's Treasure describes itself as a haven for anime and tea lovers for a reason. They've even got a tea called Uwu. It's got apple bits and cocoa nibs. It's crazy. I bought the 60 tea sampler pack as soon as I could. I wanted to try everything. It's that good. And when you order from the Dragon's Treasure using the code CREATE, you'll get 10% off your order. That's 10% off using the code CREATE at thedragonstreasure.com. The link's in the description. Look, find me another place that sells Russian caravan tea with a name like, "And then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked." You can't. TheDragonstreasure.com, 10% off when you enter the code CREATE at checkout. The link's in the description below. Get brewing, Space Cowboys. Okay, so actual VidCon then.
Yes, actual TikTok con, as it will be known from here on out, because that's really what it was. If people were not really familiar with VidCon this year or in previous years, allow me to just break it down real quick. In previous years, it was mainly a YouTube event, largely like premiere sponsored by YouTube. YouTube would have a huge area dedicated to helping out, YouTube creators, and they'd always have a big event, I think Wednesday or Thursday night. Anyway, they were not involved at all this year.
Zero presence. My
understanding is that they were rightly concerned about the spread of COVID that ended up happening, and where they did not want to be like the headline sponsor of an event that spread so much COVID. So
I don't recall seeing the logo even once in the entire event anywhere. Did you?
Yes, on there they had a shorts installation outside.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Like they had like a drive-through
some short stuff.
shorts installation. That was it though, as far as I saw and as far as I read. I think that was it. So they did an outdoor installation, which kind of lines up with my theory that they were worried about COVID.
Yeah.
And it was a drive-through thing, so people weren't on top of each other. Anyway,
right.
TikTok did not have any concern about being the headline sponsor of VidCon, and they were, and it was. And I shall say that I made a tweet about this, I think on day 2, that in years past, essentially there's one main hotel in which all of the featured creators stay. So VidCon will block out one hotel for security reasons. The entire thing is filled with no one but featured creators. So in years past, this has been an excellent, excellent way to run into fellow YouTubers, people who you want to meet up, haven't seen in a while, people that you've never met, and you could just accidentally run into. That really was not the case this year.
Not so much. You're right, though, that all the, all the walking back and forth that you do, you see the people you see the people you want to know, and then you run into both industry and video making people just hanging out when you're waiting for others, and when you're grabbing the pretzel sticks at the bar and grill kind of thing. You just spend 4 or 5 days bumping into people and meeting new ones, and it was like we got booked at the wrong hotel. It's like, oh, the convention you're going to is actually across the street, and nobody told us.
It was a lot like that. It was that different. Yeah. So I think that I recognized 5 people total. My entire time there, I believe I recognized 5 people. Jack Manifold, Hank Green, Jabril, and then Jarvis Johnson and Eddie Burback. And then I saw a 6th, but I didn't get a chance to say hi, and that was Ted Nivison. Aside from that, I saw hundreds and hundreds of people who I did not recognize at all because they're
hundreds
on TikTok and exclusively on TikTok.
They're on TikTok. The main thing being promoted by VidCon was the release of Monster High on Nickelodeon. That lines up a little bit with the demographic of who was there on both the creator side and the viewership side. Isaac says in the chat here that the Nickelodeon booth was very bland. And he mentions their giant arcades in the past. I do remember the Double Dare obstacle course. Like, I remember looking, at the huge things. That was crazy. It was young. We didn't recognize people. That's fine. Like, things move on and platforms move on and all of that. But it was unrecognizable, and it was less of a celebration of video media as it was a celebration of TikTok. Is that fair to say?
It is fair to say, and I think there are a lot of things. There's a lot of evidence for that, and there were a lot of things that I found super, super interesting about it being a TikTok event. One of the things that I noticed is that the TikTokers didn't even know each other. So,
oh right, yeah.
So here's how I know that. When you're a featured creator, you get transportation to and from the convention center for security reasons. They don't want the creators just walking around and causing people to gather around and that sort of thing. So you get chauffeured essentially between the hotel and where it is in the convention center that you are doing an event. So every time you get into one of those cars, you're grouped with people who it's random for the most part, unless you make it a point to be with like 5 particular people and you're all going to the same spot, which is unlikely. They just mix and match different creators, cram them into these vehicles. And every time we were in those vehicles, the entire ride were people saying, "Hey, what do you do? What is your TikTok?" and looking each other up. That again was not how it was like in the past. In the past, everybody knew each other, and even if you weren't friends or acquaintances or hadn't been introduced, you knew the person and they likely knew you. There is a much tighter, I think, community on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So this is one of my takeaways. And obviously it's TikTok is very new. YouTube is very old. But even when VidCon was new-ish and YouTube was still new-ish, everybody knew each other. That does not appear to be the case among TikTokers. They do not appear to know each other. There does not appear to be any sort of communal aspect about it, or sort of like, fraternity or sorority of TikTokers. They seem very siloed and disparate.
We try to stay away from the sports analogies. I know that sports ball isn't the top of the mind for most of the people listening, but I think there's a really good one here, and it's the All-Star game with pretty much any major sport. So let's say something like baseball. All the people who are selected for the All-Star game, they come for All-Star weekend, and it's a big thing, and they play the game, and some of the guys you've played against, the ones in your league, you know them, and then they're the guys in the other league, and you don't see them every day because you're not playing in their league, but you know who they are. You know that this guy's a great second baseman, or like this other pitcher is having a killer year. You don't know them personally, but as you're looking up and down the lineups, you pretty much know who everybody is. And that's what it's always been like. In those places like the lobby or in the green room before an event or in the transportation shuttles, you recognized people and you knew what they did on the internet. Just like those baseball players know, the positions that the other ones play. This time it's like maybe you saw somebody who you once saw be very funny for 25 seconds and that the image of their face stuck in your head. You don't know their name. You don't know exactly what they did, but you know that you laughed. That's about the best I could do other than the 5-6 people. We did see iDubbbz briefly. That was another run in toward the end. But yeah, just like Kevin said, it's half a dozen people over the course of 4 days who were part of this shared thing that you were doing online. Even if you didn't know each other, you were all doing this big shared thing online. And now, nothing like that at all. Nothing like that. And it did, like you said, Kevin, it did not give a sense that the TikTok type people have that same sort of fraternity.
I did not get that sense at all. No. And obviously the way that TikTok works as a platform is super different. The way that you are just fed videos and you swipe through them is so much different than having a YouTube feed. But I don't know. There are so many YouTubers that I know that whose videos I don't watch, but I know who they are, that I wonder why that doesn't. So this is kind of an open question that I don't have an answer to, but I wonder exactly what it is about TikTok that makes it so that these people don't know each other. Because you could say is it too oversaturated? Is it too big? I mean, YouTube is a pretty big place. There are like a gabillion hours of content uploaded there, every minute. So that seems like a tough sell to me. Is it just the way that the algorithm works, the way the videos just work, that you only see sort of similar content? Is it that there are so many, like the barrier to entry is so much lower that there are more amateurs being surfaced and YouTube is harder to kind of game that way? I don't know. I'm sort of just thinking out loud here, but I think that it's an open question. It's a good question because there seems to be a stark difference.
I don't think that we've adequately really analyzed a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. And it's crazy because we've talked at length about TikTok, about short video in general, the reels on Instagram, and Facebook is going for some short things now. And obviously shorts on YouTube. We talked about how important that is and the types of content that fit it. But I don't think we fully realized the trickle down and the consequences of that in terms of like audience building and peer network building and all of
Right.
that. That's what really smacked me as you started to notice it and bring it up throughout the VidCon week. Was it you or Drew or somebody we were talking to floated a theory that TikTokers don't develop an audience in the same way, like for their own channels?
Yeah,
was that us? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, that was my theory when I was talking.
Okay.
I was talking to Drew actually about just VidCon in general, and I came up with that's another question that's I wanted to get to was, do TikTokers have fans? And that's that's a very real question to me. Do TikTokers have fans? And there are a couple of reasons why I thought of this question. One is that the events at VidCon were sparsely attended, to to say the least. It was sparsely attended. In the past, it was like elbow room only walking through those hallways. And this year it was empty. It was like tumbleweeds just slowly making their way down the hallways. It was just empty.
If you've been there, you'll understand what I'm about to describe. If you haven't, it should be pretty clear. The bottom floor of the Anaheim Convention Center, which is very, very large, it's one of the biggest and best convention centers. Bottom floor has the main expo, which is about that itself. The main floor of VidCon was probably half the size of other years. Is that fair?
I would say less than half the size. Less? It was, okay. Yeah. It was. I mean, I think, Isaac mentioned doing the whole floor in like half an hour, and whereas in the past, you could spend all day there. I think sometimes multiple days just in the expo. With all of the installations and the interactive bits. And this year there was nothing.
If somebody said to me they wanted to see everything at the expo hall in years past, I would have said it's a 2-day thing to do it comfortably and not be rushed. And it was an afternoon thing this time around. So there are a lot less there, but that's the bottom floor. That's general admission. Everybody's there. The second floor is gated. That's where you've got to have industry access. You've got to be full access. I forget the creator pass goes to second floor. Those passes are more expensive. The events are smaller and exclusive. And that's where everybody's always hanging around. Between events, as other ones are going on, as they're waiting for their own to start, that is the place where anybody can be surrounded by all the people they see all the time. All the ones they're seeing on YouTube. Go there, hang out, and it's comfortable. Like the pace is comfortable. Nobody's ever too weird. You can actually talk, and say, hey, I like your videos and whatever. And yeah, and that's what Kevin just described as being that tumbleweeds thing. It was desolate. Instead of being like a packed hotel lobby where everybody's mingling like it's the place to be, it was dead. It was empty. It was a couple people shuffling between rooms. Wow. It was absolute desolation.
It was shocking. The people, there was just nobody there.
The people who we've spent so long talking to about this stuff, the ones who make videos, the creators within the Create Unknown community, people like Linus, Conrad and Venture Addicts. There were a lot of people who, Dan the Latch as well, who didn't go to VidCon because, timing and expense and like don't want to do it and whatever. But who really otherwise wanted to go because of how useful it's been. That second floor where you can go and see and talk to all of your YouTube heroes, and like jump into the lounges and get crazy food and just have a blast. That was not there this time. And they picked the right year to skip. I was bummed when somebody would tell me, I changed my mind, I can't make it, or just didn't plan to go at all. And I feel in a way, that they were, I want to say the lucky ones because we had a good time. We got a lot of value out of it. But I think some of them would have been disappointed at missing the majesty of the past.
Yeah. Those are those hallways where you could run into iDubbbz or Chris Ray Gun or Carson, like a lot of people who we've had on the podcast, and that's
Everybody
where you run into. Yeah,
podcast.
Pretty much everybody we've had on the podcast. I know it's true, but this year, none of that happened at all. So I don't know. I don't know if there was another story that I'd heard. Take this as rumor because I wasn't there, but Charlie D'Amato, who is a absolutely massive TikTok star, supposedly had an event that they delayed for what I was told 45 minutes just to try to fill it because nobody was showing up. So, if somebody that has like tens of millions of followers can't fill up, I don't know, how many people they were looking for, but you should be able to fill that up.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about so many different things that are changing from the companies committed. Obviously, we mentioned YouTube not having a heavy presence, but hey, if that expo hall is, 60% smaller than it was in 2019, a lot of companies passed on this. If those big events are having trouble filling, well, maybe fans of TikTok are quite different than fans of YouTube. It's a different experience there. The general reticence when it comes to travel and stuff like that, which I made fun of for a long time. And then, the one time I leave, it brutalizes my life. I would absolutely think twice about future trips. Because now, I mean, look what happened.
I know. Yeah.
We went on a trip and got so sick. This won't mean a lot to most people, but I am totally mortified at not being able to respond to an email. We missed an ad read. I missed an ad read because we didn't do an episode. We've worked with LinkedIn Jobs for a long, long time now. And we couldn't do the episode and we had an ad read scheduled, and I was not capable of looking at a screen for more than 4 seconds. And Kevin shot a message saying, sorry about this. We'll make it up. But like that type of dropping the ball doesn't happen. Like 2 things make us miss work, and that is unfathomable tragedy or other work. That's it.
Well, and us both getting sick is really crippling. It's like if one of us is sick, the other one can pick up the slack. If we're both sick, there's no slack is on the floor, man. I messed up this girl's name. Charlie D'Amelio is her name. She has 143 million followers on TikTok. 143 million followers on TikTok. And supposedly no one was showing up for her event. Oh. Now, take that as rumor. That's just what I heard. But
yeah,
man,
we want to help you make something and mean something. And we say that phrase all the time because when you're making something and you know it means something, even if it's just to you, that's when you feel pretty good about what you're creating. The support for the Create Unknown in recent weeks has been incredible. Animators, artists, musicians, YouTubers, aspiring filmmakers, comedians, it is crazy how talented everybody in this community is. Consider joining the Create Unknown Patreon. Every dollar that comes through goes straight into the podcast and its community. That means more highlights videos. It means a big Minecraft project that's on the way. And eventually we'd like to manufacture custom piss bottles so you never have to leave your battle station. And being a patron unlocks participation in all of our live recordings. You've seen the roster of guests we've had. Having access to their minds is a unique opportunity. You can go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown or click the link that's in the description. Every little bit helps, and your support means absolutely everything to us. Patreon.com/thecreateunknown, links in the description. We appreciate you, Space Cowboys.
That's why my question is, do TikTokers have fans? Do they have a following? Or will people come out to see them? Or is it just ephemeral entertainment that's disposable and you don't gain a connection to the person. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I can understand how people who show their lives day after day, you could really get into being a fan of them and follow along with them. Almost like what a really compressed version of what Casey Neistat did so long ago. People just wanted to follow along with Casey day by day after a while. And I could see that really drawing people in. But, you know, I think of people like the is it Voros twins? You know, Da Vinci twins. They
I don't know.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
No,
oh my God.
No, I don't know.
Oh,
those guys. Yeah, they looked like this, like Slim Jim man, like blonde Slim Jim
I absolutely love their stuff. It's so good. But I don't have any kind of connection where I don't know what kind of community they do. Like I would want to see them, you know, if I were at a VidCon kind of thing, but, yeah, it's just different. There's a different feel, and I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Well, here's a thing that I would like to float, and that's a ton of these people they just dance. Like a ton of these people make TikToks in which they dance, and they dance to whatever the new song is, or they dance to in a way that, you know, aligns with whatever some new trend is. And people love watching them do these dances and dance in general. Is that enough to become a fan of a person, though? Is that enough to say, I really like your dances, now I want to go and sit and listen to you speak on a panel about what? Mm-hmm. About how you grew your TikTok with your dance videos? Like, I don't mean to come across as overly dismissive. I'm just asking questions. No. I think those are valid questions to ask. Like, is there enough there to even like bite into to want to know more?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. You saying I'm just asking questions. I thought of how funny it would be if you had this massive TikTok rant, and then at the end you're like, "Really? Can jet fuel melt steel beams? I'm just asking questions." Completely out of the blue. No, I think it's valid stuff here. And as you're talking about, can you be a fan of somebody who does a little dance? Well, can you be a fan of somebody who has little shitposty tweets? Yeah, absolutely. Can you be a fan of like a Twitter meme god? Yeah. Things pop on my feed, and I know that they came from Charles Kahn before I see his name. So clearly you can develop a fandom with a super limited type of content with super brevity. To me, that exists. At the same time, I don't think I personally know what that feels like to do it in the realm of, you know, of goofy TikTok dancers, or what that can become. So like with the Da Vinci twins, I every single time they come up, I watch it, but at the same time, I don't seek them out. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
That feels.
I mean, there's a difference between like Shawshank Redemption being on TBS when you're just flipping through, and like unloading the Shawshank Redemption DVD disc and popping it in to watch Shawshank Redemption. Like, these are not the same mechanisms for watching that film. One takes a lot more intent than the other. And your like Twitter analogy, I think, is very interesting, because would popular Twitter personalities make for a good convention? Like, even if they have hundreds of thousands of followers, they routinely get tens of thousands of likes on their tweets, whether they're like memes or, you know, political observations or whatever. Can you get those people together and put a convention together that people will go to? Or is it that same type of content in which you're just watching a rerun on TBS, but you're not really that invested in watching the movie? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this works, and it kind of bothers me that I can't do a better job with it. You know, because I'll think of an analogy like brevity on Twitter, or just images and stuff like that. I mean, I even noticed. So on Twitter, there's a guy called Mittens. Some people know Mittens. Others probably didn't. I noticed when Mittens was gone. So I felt after a couple days like, oh man, I haven't seen anything from Mittens' account. And I looked up and he'd been suspended. Same with a guy named Poe. Poe's on the edgier side. But when these guys get suspended, after a couple days, I notice the absence of them. That makes it real to me. But I don't know what the next step is mentally. I don't know what connection I do have with somebody like Mittens. I don't know what connection I have to the content of Charles Kahn, who I bring him up because everybody here knows him. We've known him a long time. And I value the stuff a ton. I would notice if it was gone, but I have no idea what my relationship is to it. And that's how I feel about that type of confusion is how I feel with the TikTok stuff times 100.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll see what happens moving forward with VidCon, because I don't know if this is a condemnation of, TikTokers' ability to draw in fans because because it's their fault, or because people didn't want to show up because of COVID, which is totally viable. That's a totally valid reason. I'm sure a lot of it could have been that. Also, it was such a switch from previous years that maybe the people who watch the people who watch TikTok didn't know about VidCon because they're not YouTube fans, so they didn't know that they would want to go this year. I don't know. There are probably a myriad of reasons why it was empty, but the fact is, it was empty. It was really empty. People did not show up. They did not fill the halls. They did not sit at those panels.
Except, I have to stop you right there. I have to stop you on the panel with you, Michael Reeves, William Osman, Barely Sociable, Alan Pan. I forget who else. That panel was packed. There were like 500 or 600 people.
Not for us.
It was ruckus. It was wild.
Not for us. You don't know why they were there? They were not there for us.
No. Why were they there then?
Because of the panel following us. We're all the Dream SMP Minecraft YouTubers.
Oh my God.
You didn't know that? Okay. Were you paying attention at all? We kept joking about it during the panel. That's why we kept bringing up Minecraft and making everybody cheer.
None of this made full sense to me. No. So I thought that it was like all-star panel of EDU on the unhinged science and math side. And because the crowd was responding really well. So if they were there for something else, at least they cared about your panel. Like they were laughing and exploding at the right times. And it sounded like there were 500 people there for you. So that's amazing that they weren't.
It's amazing that you were oblivious to what was actually going on that whole time.
I don't pay attention to anything.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. No, dude.
I had no idea.
It's shocking.
Why didn't you tell me? Because several times I said to you, did you think I was like tongue-in-cheek joking?
It would be like telling you that the sun was hot. Like it was so self-evident. We were joking about it the entire panel. We kept bringing up Minecraft as like a button for them to react to when the crowd was getting kind of like listless and bored. We would make a Minecraft reference and they would all cheer.
I have no recollection of this.
Oh my God. Yes. Were you backstage or were you actually out there watching the panel?
I was backstage, but I could hear everybody except, for whatever reason, William Osman's voice played really poorly with the like backstage acoustics. So that sounded like a little bit of a drone sometimes when he would talk. So I missed a lot of his answers, but everybody else I could hear very cleanly. Now this was Saturday. By Saturday, I was starting to be in bad shape physically. And I thought I was just run down from the trip. I didn't realize what ManyKudos had done to me. But everything you're telling me right now, I did not know before you told me.
All right. Yeah. So we'll all learn together. That I was going to bring that up as a caveat because it was the one thing that the entire convention that people showed up for, and that was the panel after hours. So they had no interest. I cannot believe you thought all of those people were interested in like me and Alan Pan and
Michael Reeves and Osman. Yeah, it was a great group. It was fun.
They were not there for us at all. Zero.
I would have testified in court. Like I would have absolutely taken any oath on the planet and said what I thought there. That's how convinced I was.
Yeah, you were wrong. This is why you can't trust eyewitness testimony ever.
My God, you really can't, can you?
No.
This is the perfect example of it.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, you were in a different reality, sir. That was not the reality. That was the true reality, because the true reality was that place was packed waiting for like Ranboo and like that crew. Like, I don't know if it was like Tommy Innit and Jack Manifold and I don't know who else, but it was like a bunch of the cute Minecraft boys. That's who they were there for. They were not there for the ugly science men. Which is what made that fun, and that's why we were kind of having fun with that whole situation, because it was clearly a packed house of people that were maybe 5%, I think, interested in like anything. They didn't even know who we were, dude. They did not know who we were. Most of them.
The least reliable person on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Wow.
So aside from the TikTokers, I would say that crew pulled a lot of fans. That kind of Dream SMP Minecraft crew. They have, but did the real
lice
fans.
Thing turn out to be true? I saw on Twitter somebody said that they were spreading lice at the Dream SMP VidCon event.
I don't know.
And I wondered if that was true. It was all over.
I don't know.
Twitter that day.
We could ask Jack. I'm sure he would tell us the truth. But no. So aside from that, I don't know what the future holds for VidCon. It'll be interesting to see, because this year was a weird one. It was really a weird one. We talked while we were there that in years past, going to VidCon was an absolute no-brainer. We would plan for it starting in September. We would plan for it and lock that in, 9 months in advance.
The moment they released the dates, it was literally the one thing, and we like to go to FECon as well. And do you remember that conversation we had years ago where it's like, we pencil in these two things because, we like to hang with Sean Malone, who's been on a couple times, and have a good time in Atlanta. These two things we know a year in advance that we want to do. And now we're going to enter 2023. And I don't think we have an event that we know is going to be on the schedule, do we? Is there one?
Not for sure. No, not for sure.
Yeah, I'm questioning everything now. I don't know if Christmas is going to happen in 2023. I don't know if I'm going to have another birthday. This is probably my last. That's how uncertain the calendar is. But that's a weird feeling. And that's for me too. Kevin, you said, I forget when, that you're probably in the top 5 of legacy creators at VidCon in terms of like sheer time. If it was weird for me, it had to have been really strange for you to have it be so different.
Yeah. It was. I realized while we were there, and I looked around and didn't recognize anyone, that like I have to be this year. Definitely aside from the Green brothers, who Hank started VidCon. Yep. It's a pretty short list before you get to me, as far as people who had been a featured creator at VidCon so many times. I don't remember how many times it's been. It's been a long time though, and I don't see it happening again next year. I think that this one was kind of a fluke. I think, unless I don't know, unless YouTube comes back. But are they gonna come back with the way that this event went? How in the world, if they were afraid to do VidCon because of COVID, and then they look and VidCon was a massive COVID explosion, in what way do they come back next year and say, yep, we're saddling up again? Like, let's do it. Let's do it. We were afraid of COVID. COVID exploded. Let's do it. I don't see it happening.
We were so worried that this event was going to be a massive kick in the nuts. Now that we've seen that it actually was, let's start scheduling Nutkick 2023.
Yeah. Let's be the headline sponsor of VidCon 23. And I don't know what sponsors like otherwise come back, because the vendors weren't there this year. Did the vendors all of a sudden decide that they need to come back? Like, the vendors that were there were kind of squirrely as far like in years past, it would be like Harry Potter and Taco Bell and, like gigantic brands. This year, it was really less so that. And it's not just VidCon, E3 is dead. A lot of these things, it's like, I just don't know how many of these companies are looking at these conventions and saying, you know what? We're going to pour a ton of money and time and resources into our presence at this thing because it's so valuable. Is it?
It is. And well, I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, there are big questions there about, this is a little sentimental and self-serving, but I mean, there's one issue about where you and I are at in our careers and what's useful to us now compared to 10 years ago. It sounds so embarrassingly stupid and old manish to be like, hey, this kind of thing takes a lot out of me in a way that it didn't, when I was 21. I hate having to think about
when I was 35,
us changing. Seriously,
21.
That's when everything changed. It's like 5 years ago is when like the recovery started to be a thing. I couldn't blow it out. I mean, you remember a long time ago, VidCon, like I would go until 4 a.m. and then be ready to go at 8 a.m. for some panel.
Yeah.
And it was fine. Like I'd be like, all right, I'll sleep after VidCon. That's right. What I did. And it was fine. And now it's like just the travel day is brutal. That stuff is lame, but that's realistic. Like things are different. And I know over the years, people have gotten married and had kids and stuff like that. Like I know for somebody like Michael, Vsauce being at a VidCon in 2022 is very different than 2014. His life has changed.
Well, that's another good question. Is YouTube
Derek Veritasium
too old? Because it was the TikTokers, let me tell you, are very young. They are the next generation. There are not old TikTokers. Not really. I mean, there weren't at VidCon. They were kids, they were really youthful and vibrant. And, we were joking that we could have been their fathers. And chronologically speaking, that's not wrong.
I say I know I was. I don't mean I was a TikToker's father. I mean that when you did your last event on Saturday, which was a roundtable thing, the creator roundtable, whatever they called that, meet and greet. I was back in the green room area, and there were a couple TikTok creators who were there with parents, guardian type things. And I overheard a couple of the adults talking, and the guy's like, yeah, I'm 37. I'm like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, I am literally older than the parents of the TikTokers who were featured creators at this event. Yeah. Like, this is confirmed that this happened in a green room of like 6 people. I mean, it's not like it was the one exception. Yeah. I was the oldest person in out of the 6 people there. It's twisted because I'm not that old, but yeah, that stuff has changed. I don't know what the implications are for people trying to develop communities on this stuff, because you don't have to have a lot of people. It's like the Create Unknown. It's not a massive community. It's not millions. You can have a small number that are into what you do and that you can get to know. Yeah, Charles says the 1,000 Juggalos. Yeah, if anybody knows the Insane Clown Posse quote about rather having 10 Juggalos than like 100,000 mainstream fans, that's the concept, and it's absolutely true. But how do you do that? How do you do that on a platform that is designed to get you in front of somebody very quickly and get you
away from them?
Get somebody else away from them. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be replaced with
instantly.
A swipe. That's different. Yep. You are disposable as hell. And you're not disposable in that same way on YouTube. It's weird. It's uncomfortable because, like, I feel bad in a way for people who are subject to that kind of Tinder swiping treatment on the creative. That's
what it
harrowing.
is. I never thought of
Yeah.
it like that. It is. You're just
It is the Tinder swipe.
Tinder swiping content creator.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And can you develop a fan base with that model? I don't know. I don't think there's any such thing as a Tinder relationship. I think something has to come from offline to make that real. Maybe that's it.
Here's
maybe
another
TikTok's
thing that I want to bring up that I also learned while I was there, because this is another important point, is that from what I understood and from the conversations that I overheard a lot while I was there, is that the move is to go from TikTok to YouTube. I heard so much talk about TikTokers talking about how to migrate their audience to YouTube. Yeah, there was a lot of that. So sorry that I hadn't mentioned that earlier, but that was another sort of little notch in this theory that, TikTok is just not a place to build a fan base and to build your audience. Or maybe it's a place to find an audience and then try to convince a hardcore minority of them to follow you over to a different platform so that you can kickstart that platform and then grow over there. So like if you kickstart your YouTube channel out of the gate with, let's say, 10,000 subscribers, well, that's probably a lot easier to grow than 10 subscribers.
Yes. Yeah. We talked so many times in the past about taking the YouTube format and coming up with shorter stuff. And in reality, there are a ton of people who are slamming it on TikTok and need to transition into the longer form content.
That's their words, not mine. That was something I learned while I was there, was that is something that people are pursuing, some sort of like audience pipeline from TikTok over to YouTube, because I think for a few reasons. One is obviously like monetization is so bad on TikTok, and it's nearly impossible to have a sustainable career there as a creator. And then the other is that I do think that people will stick around and get really watch all your stuff and become a fan of you and actively seek you out. And, it's not Tinder. I don't know what YouTube is in this like dating app analogy. I'm not familiar enough.
So
eHarmony.
To the eHarmony. Yeah.
Okay, Cupid.
I'm okay.
Farmers only. Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Farmers only.
Yeah, farmers only.
I have a farmers only story, but I'll save that for another day. I don't want to say what I'm about to say. This is why I hate this. I really think that everybody at this point needs to start thinking about everything. And that means if you want to make YouTube videos, you've got to think about doing shorts and doing TikToks and letting people in on things like Instagram Reels and starting to write so that you can pop things on Substack or to your patrons, actual articles. I hate saying that I think everybody needs to dip into virtually every medium, but I think that's the reality now. And if I started a project, which we, we're in the stages of talking about future projects at this point. And when we do that, Kevin and I talked a little bit earlier this morning about that. When we hit the point where we have the conversation about the next projects, it's going to be way more comprehensive than I think we've ever had to talk about in the past, because I don't think that being really, really good on one platform is enough. That might be over. And I remember thinking how in like the blog era, so let's say 20 years ago, people started to say these same things. It's like, you got to be active on Facebook and Twitter, and you've got to have a blog, and you've got to do all of this stuff. And that wasn't really true then. It was overwhelming. It was too much. It turned out that most people were putting a lot of effort in and not concentrating like a focus of fire enough to really accomplish anything. And I always thought that was super bad advice at the time. And now I'm starting to think that it's happening in a similar way. I don't know how I don't know how you do one thing only, with a couple exceptions, and build the way you want to build.
I don't know. I know
It's
that
daunting and
the
it's
audiences
tragic.
are all over the place. That's the one thing that I'll say to kind of piggyback on your point, is that the people who watch TikTok just really watch TikTok. The people who are on Instagram all day are on Instagram all day. The people who are still somehow on Facebook pretty much just go on Facebook. And I didn't feel like that was the case years ago. I sort of felt like everybody was everywhere as a consumer.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like that has changed dramatically. In my opinion, it seems like people stick to the app that they really like and they don't leave it all that much. You know, I think like the people who just love Twitter. People who just love YouTube, they really love YouTube. And the reason that I say this is that in the last year, we have been uploading Vsauce 2 content to more platforms. So YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels. Mm-hmm. And there's a different reaction on all of those different platforms. There's different people on all of those different platforms. You know, it's not like if I upload a thing on YouTube and then upload a thing on TikTok, it's a flood of comments being like, why are you just recycling content? You know who has said that? No one. Never. Yeah. Once. Literally zero people. And you know what? If they did notice, I think they would say it, because they would probably be kind of annoyed by that. Like, oh, I already saw this. But they haven't seen it because they don't watch. They're not on Instagram. So if I upload it to Instagram, it's a whole bunch of people on Instagram who don't watch TikTok, and vice versa. So I do agree with your concept here of kind of being everywhere. That does sound daunting and overwhelming, but I think that there really are different people on all of those different platforms, and there's not a lot of crossover.
I'm pretty excited by this at the same time. So I do think it's daunting. I think we are going to talk about this a lot in the next year. I'm excited because a year ago I didn't really see a path that was different. I mean, I thought it was a little bit like we hit a bit of a stale point, like media wide, where it's like, yeah, you make YouTube videos, you make TikToks. This is it. Do this, and we'll see how things build. It's evolving now. I mean, there definitely was a period that was kind of on ice, and I think we're through that, and things are different. And the fact that they're different and they're evolving is interesting and exciting. And there's going to be new stuff that breaks through, new ways to think about the content, whether it's Vsauce 2 or the Create Unknown or whatever your project is. It's not stale anymore. So I don't exactly know what's happening, but I know something is happening that's worth talking about. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Well, I think a lot has changed. I mean, look, VidCon is completely different now. And I think that is really kind of a litmus test for the industry, is what's going on with VidCon. Yeah. Well, guess what? VidCon is extremely different. So I think it's suffice to say that the industry is very different. And, people should start thinking about it differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I don't know where are we at on the VidCon talk?
Well, I don't know
to say?
Yeah, other than I don't know if we'll be going next year. I think that is a big fat question mark, is whether or not we'll even attend. Because there were a lot of moments in which I was like, I am not coming back here next year. And then there were a couple of moments where I was like, all right, this was really valuable and I couldn't have got this otherwise. So, maybe it was worth it.
Sitting down for a couple hours with Drew was one of the highlights for me.
Really cool.
Being able to talk to somebody like that was awesome. I loved that. The dinner with Create Unknown people was, we've literally waited years to hang out with a few people. The morning stuff, these people who I'm in, Twitter group chats with and have met before, people like Kudos, and, people you talk to every day on the different platforms, the baby gang staples like Jen.
If we can do this not at VidCon though, like
that's the thing.
That's the thing.
Yes.
If we could do this not at VidCon, then that's cool. So if like Creator Clash or whatever becomes this opportunity
viable.
to get together and have dinner and meet and have lunch and have coffee and just hang out with people. That's what we like.
That's what we all want.
And all of the impromptu stuff that used to, and industry stuff that used to happen at VidCon, it seems like mostly that ship has sailed. There was a lot of nothing going on that side, you know. So if we can recreate the good parts of VidCons of year past at a different event that's cheaper for everyone and easier for everyone, and like less stressful for everyone, like let's just do that.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the chat now. That's the one that's integrated in with the videos, and a lot of these things are worth pointing out. Charles said, "Why does VidCon have to be the thing?" And that's exactly it. That's the takeaway here: is that question would have been unthinkable a couple of years ago. That's like, it's like, why are the Olympics like the measure of amateur, sport in the world? Nobody's asking that question,
right?
Because they're the Olympics,
right?
That's the place that VidCon had, and now it's a viable thing. Now it's like, well, hey, maybe there is a creator clash. Maybe there's just plain a new meetup.
Yeah, TCU Con.
Yeah, it's a real Kabaddi Con. I wish. It's a real question now. It's a real thing. There's an opening in this ecosystem that was not there at all. So it's going to be super interesting to see how that aspect plays out.
Yeah. So I would wrap up the VidCon thing there.
Yeah. Because I did go to another one on the back end of VidCon that was a new real small thing in Austin. I do want to brag about my schedule because I pulled this off and I'm alive. Saturday night at 3 a.m, I had to leave for the airport. Saturday was the last day of VidCon. 3, went to the airport for the flight at 5 because I had to go to LAX and then fly into Austin, drop my bags at 11, change my clothes, and be at the venue at 12. I thought I was going to be hosting a couple panels at LightCon. This is Glink's event that he put together in Austin. Then I found out I was going to be on stage for all of them, hours 1 through 9:30. That was demanding. That was a demanding schedule. So when I'm rethinking these, how do I respond physically to these trips? I may take that into account, that I can't chain flights and like talking and appearances and in the same way. But it was really neat. It was primarily an online thing where it was live streamed, and panels about alternatives to YouTube, which is good. One guy has an alternative platform, Rockfin, which I'm really intrigued by. Questions about whether, if YouTube is going to be dethroned, about art and music in kind of the new landscape online. Negative XP, if anybody knows him, he used to go by a different name, which, if you know, you know. He's sort of like Eggy in that way, where his music hits. It's a community that it's non-traditional, and what does that mean on platforms like YouTube? Ariel Pink, who pretty significant indie guy. Yes, Charles. Charles has his name in there. He's had a rough and tumble 2 years. Really fascinating conversations, though, and it was, 4 of those panels. There was more substantial conversation there than I saw at all of VidCon. That was remarkable to me because I remember going to and witnessing really significant conversations between people about the industry, about marketing, just depending on the level of access at VidCon. Really intriguing. You get people with different opinions. I would say, this is what I'm focusing on. Other people would say, no, that was last year. It was really cool. It was more like, look at the creator at VidCon, look at the famous person who you may or may not recognize, as opposed to in-depth stuff. I liked those in-depth conversations with LightWave. I think it was an awesome test run for what hopefully Glink will do do next year. And that was it had all those elements that I liked. I got to hang around with Kino, who we'd talk to all the time but never see. Slush as well. Slush was there, and his brother's awesome. It was really, really neat. And there was substance there. I want to see more events with substance. That's what I'm looking forward to, whether it's a revamped Return to Roots VidCon, whether it's LightWave doing another edition and ramping it up, whether it's something tacked on to Creator Clash. I don't care. I want substance back. And I think there's some alternatives to getting that substance.
Well, the market is wide open at this point because there was no substance going on at VidCon. That's for sure.
There was not substance.
I think that's probably a great way to put it. It was substance free, a substance free zone, COVID full, substance free. Very, very strange. Free. So we'll see what years look like following this one. Wiffle Butter in the chat mentioned YouTube Rewind sort of following a similar path. And I think that's a good analogy. That's a good analogy. YouTube Rewind became substanceless as it folded in on itself and then became nothing. So does VidCon, sort of lend itself to the same fate? I don't know.
It's got to be hard. Nobody knew. Excuse me. Everything was the 11th hour. Who's gonna test clean and can actually show up? Who's gonna commit on the business
how does that
side?
change next year, though?
God, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But I can see this being a dip, not necessarily the death knell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really optimistic about it. I think they just had a really hard situation more than totally blew it. I think it was hard. I think it's hard, and that things are changing on the TikTok side, and they did the best they could with the weird cards they were dealt. The real test is going to be the next one, and it's going to live or it's going to die. I don't think you can have it be weird twice in a row.
Well, without, just there being kind of significant changes to what to expect, which is possible as well, to see it just be a smaller thing in years to come.
Yeah. When they canceled in October, I think it was, a lot of those commentary guys, they just kept their flights and met up in LA. They had their own unofficial VidCon. It seemed like it was about 40 people, and they looked like they were having a ball. You had that happen. You had LightWave happen. You had Creator Clash happen. Other than that event, oh man, what was the one in Florida that was a little bit TikTok-y? You remember there was a creator event in Tampa or something? Playlist Live, yeah. Playlist Live, yep. And then CVX in Utah, which
became something else.
Changed a bit.
That's like Vid Summit now, I think.
Yeah. So there's more happening. There's a lot more uncertainty on these fronts, but I want substance, and I want to hang out with old friends and new friends. That's it. That's it. Yeah. I want those two things: substance and cool people. If you can do that, that's going to be the event that I put in a year in advance.
I think that makes sense. And I think that the market is open for that. So, we'll see where we'll go next, when we go next, if we go next. We'll keep everybody updated, though, because it would be really nice to find, like I said, a less expensive alternative that a lot more people can have access to, where we could have, a bigger meetup for birthday number 41 and your 41 ounce steak.
41. How come I'm out of the two of us, I'm the only one that ages? Have you noticed that? You never seem to admit that it happens to you.
Well, that's because of like the pints and pints of toddler blood that I drink. It's part of my YouTube Illuminati cult that I'm in.
That's what the new VidCon becomes, is people like us going to drink the blood of the young TikTokers to stay youthful in the industry. That's what that event is becoming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a good idea. I like it. All right. Well, listen, we need to go back to sleep because we're very sick. But we have,
honestly, we are.
We have a long list of guests that we just are on the verge of booking. So we can't announce any yet. But stay tuned. Stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter. Join the Discord. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/thecreateunknown. We are going to blow out the rest of the summer big time with guests. So please stay tuned. Follow us because it'll be good. It'll be a good summer. We met up with a lot of people actually at VidCon who we're going to have on the show. So it should be a
lot of new people. Yeah, ones that have been requested a lot. A couple repeats, bringing people back who everybody's been waiting for them. So that's good. And then some just brand new people we didn't know existed. That's the exciting thing. Between VidCon and LightWave, we've got we're going to be good through the summer. Yeah. And I'm excited about arranging them.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Big things coming. All right, we are out of here. See you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% goes directly to keeping episodes going every week, and we've been shocked by all the new support this year. The world's ending and I'm late for work. Gib Tom, Sid Poke, Demetrius, Atrocious Guff. You guys really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. And thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Jen Mefasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Ryan, Kamikaze, Maria, Marco Sheep, Tom Videogre, Jeltsies, and Dan the Latch. And a tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders, Linus and Trevstead, Boromir, Bot Dogs, Chinchilla, Isaac, Conrad, James, Andrew, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, Monahim, Dojangles, and Zero. You really are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer-editor Ben Webster, Discord savior Latterman, and producer emeritus Dan Yoshua. And thanks to Baseweight for the use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme, and to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.